Welcome to the world, fucktards. We're all fucked. The ship's sinking. Abandoned ship, bitch. Dear Captain Fucktard, might want to steer around the shit reef next time. Hope you all got your ship vests on. Heads bobbing up and down the water. Can't save you all. What the fuck am I supposed to do? Now I gotta throw out the shit line. Everybody grab the shit line. Ryan Ball's gotta reel you back in, fucktards. Well, you may have noticed my new attire here, my nice neck warmer. I got it at the dollar store, and they only had the Grover style. So go fuck yourself. Sorry for the rough intros, guys. I have some anger issues. I find that the best way to take out your anger is on helpless victims. The problem is I don't really have a house to live in. That's why I always have to make videos outside. Well, actually, Ria, my girlfriend, she works in a nursing home, and she works 17-hour shifts. And I just wanted to clear something up. She doesn't work a 17-hour shift every day, although that is very common here in Japan. 17-hour shifts, 16-hour shifts every day. From my experience, I've had so many male students who, young and old, that's just their work culture. I think they do that because they don't want to look like a loser. Like, in this kind of fucked up, sick mental society here, you're actually looked at as a loser if you go home at 5 o'clock. Like, technically the job description may say work hours for this job 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But that's a joke. Very rarely will they go home at 5 p.m. I mean, it depends on the company and the work culture within that company. Yeah, I mean, I used to teach a guy, he was just out of college, and he worked at, I think he worked at Kawasaki Industries, and they worked him to the bone because he had to prove his worth. I'd be teaching him, man, he'd just be dead. Like, you couldn't teach him anything because he was so freaking tired. He was done. Yeah, in a lot of companies, if you get a certain TOEIC score, that's like a English proficiency examination. If you get a certain TOEIC score, your salary gets bumped up, and also you're able to get higher positions. So this guy was just taking English lessons because he was doing it for his job. That was his sole motivation. And he'd come to these lessons, man, and he would just be so tired, like his head would almost be falling on the desk. It's so hard to teach someone when they're not motivated and they're just doing it to put in the time. That is a very difficult situation, and those students usually quit like after a month or two. But he continued for like a year, over a year I think, and maybe even 2 years. But man, he would go to work from like, he said he would get there at 7 in the morning because he wanted to get there before everybody, because he was trying to etch himself up and, you know, get higher ranked. And he had a better TOEIC score than most guys. Oh fuck, where am I? I'm walking into someone's driveway here. He said he wanted to be the first one in so he could like impress his boss, but his supervisor always got in earlier than him. And then he would stay until 11 p.m. or 12 in the morning. So you're there from 7 a.m. to 12. That's 12 hours plus 5. That's a 17-hour day right there, man. And he would do that every day. This guy was not healthy. Like, when I taught him, you could tell he was not healthy. Like, he was burned out, he was mentally exhausted. He just wasn't there. I had another student I remember as well. He said he would get up at 5 o'clock every morning, study English with his son for about 30 minutes to an hour. Then he would get ready for work. He'd get to work by 8 a.m. He'd come home at 12 a.m. And then he said he would take a shower, settle down, and by the time he got to sleep, it would be 2 a.m. So this motherfucker was sleeping 3 hours a night, working 17-hour shifts as well, every single day. He was gone too during our lessons. I mean, he tried, but he just, you know, he was another guy just studying English so that he could get in the upper echelons of his company. And you know, the company tells them they need to know English, and they do because they go overseas a lot. He was working in the electronics industry. But wow, they just have an immense amount of pressure and stress put on them. But like, they seem, on the outside, they seem to deal with it jovially, and it's like they really have this really strong inner drive to impress the people around them, like their coworkers, their bosses, their supervisors, and to conform to their bosses and supervisors and coworkers' expectations. As a part-time job, I used to go and teach marine engineers for a big international company. And I had to design a curriculum for them, and they told me they had certain goals that they wanted to achieve throughout the course. In this company, it was the same situation. If they got a certain TOEIC score, certain English proficiency examination score, they'd be able to get promotions. Now these guys told me that they would come to work at 7 a.m. every morning, and on a normal night, they would leave around 11 p.m. But if there was some kind of problem they had to deal with, they'd often go home at 2 a.m. in the morning. So these guys would literally get 5 hours of free time between working. Now when I taught these guys, they were completely dusted. They were gone. And what was really sad about the situation is that they were trying so hard to achieve these tasks, but they just couldn't do it. Like, you know, from my point of view as a teacher, like they just were not in an environment and in a state of mind where they could absorb information and learn. My mistake was that I really took these lessons seriously and I tried to teach them stuff, but man, all they want to do is just chill the fuck out and just like hang and just like shoot the shit, man. That's what they want to do. But I was under pressure because I was hired through a temp agency. Now the temp agency, because of my negotiation skills, they offered me 60 an hour. I negotiated them up to $100 an hour, $100 an hour. There was no fucking way I was gonna, because I knew what I was getting into. I had to make a curriculum for this course. I knew they were unmotivated students, and that's why I was able to negotiate my rate up so high. And also I had negotiating power in that situation because I went to the interview first with this international company. They liked me. They said they wanted me to be their teacher. And once they had decided, the temp company that was hiring me, they couldn't say, oh, we can't provide this teacher for you now, because then they would lose face. So I had a ton of negotiating power there, and I negotiated my salary up to $100 an hour. So I would go in there, and it was like an hour-and-a-half lesson. And yeah, I mean, I really put in a lot of effort. I did make a curriculum for these guys. They just weren't there mentally to be able to take in what I was teaching them. I should have just shot the shit with them and been a bro with them. They even, you know, they invited me to go out to an izakaya, like that's like a Japanese style bar, go drinking with them, hang with them. You know, but I was just trying to be, you know, do it in the straight and narrow and just like, you know, be the serious teacher and not get involved personally. That was a fuck up on my part. These guys, man, they were so fucking burnt mentally and psychologically. They were in no position to be studying English intensely. Well guys, these are just some of my experiences with, you know, living here in Japan, working and dealing with people who work themselves to death. I can tell you just from first-hand experience, even in my own personal relationship, it just causes a lot of stress. It's this very, very high stress environment, and you know, I could go on and on about how it affects almost every aspect of people's lives when they work themselves so hard. And it's the worst thing about it is not the actual working of the long hours. The worst thing about this is, one, the expectations that people put on each other and this kind of thinking and mentality they have, and then two, this like totally ignoring the whole mental health aspect of it and not confronting that and not confronting the illnesses and the bad effects it has on society as a whole. And the whole like counseling or therapy or psychology, like in the West we have a lot of like psychological support and resources we have that are available to us if we have problems. There's even free programs. There's like hotlines you can call if you're suicidal. Here in Japan, they just don't have that kind of support here. Like, mental health isn't really recognized. I taught a doctor once. He was a doctor. He had a PhD in physics and he had a medical degree. He told me, he said, "Why would you want to study psychology? That's like fortune telling."